You're listening to the Urban Farm Podcast, your partner in the grow your own food revolution. Whether you've just been introduced to urban farming or you're a lifelong advocate, we're sure you'll leave feeling more informed, equipped, and empowered to dig deeper into the soil of your local food economy. With you every step of the way, here's your host, Greg Peterson.
Welcome to the Urban Farm Podcast. Today we have Paul Dysinger here to share his farming experience and to give us some tips for winter growing on a budget. How cool is that? Paul Dysinger is the founder of Born to Grow and the brand new Garden Launch membership community where he enjoys teaching people how to grow their own healthy, nutrient-dense organic food. He lives with his family on Bountiful Blessings Farms, where they serve the community year-round with fresh veggies, herbs, and berries. Welcome to the show today, Paul. How are you?
Hey, Greg. Thanks so much. It's a real privilege to be on with you, and I'm doing great. Yeah, how about yourself?
Awesome. Oh, my God. You know what? I get to do this every day, so I love it.
That's
so
great.
I read your bio. Could you fill in any blanks and share about your journey of getting to where you're at now?
Okay, so, yeah, it goes back a little ways. My family... It's kind of interesting. I'll just share a quick story. My family doesn't come from a farming background. In fact, we come more from a medical background.
Wow.
Both grandparents on both sides are doctors.
Uh-huh.
My dad grew up a doctor's kid. He went over, did a lot of development work overseas. I actually grew up part of my life overseas, out in little villages doing development. My dad, my parents doing development work over there.
Uh-huh.
We ended up moving back to the States. And that's when first my uncle found the desire to farm. And so he actually started the farm, started it as a strawberry farm. And then my dad later joined him and partnered together. And so our two families run the farm. And my dad likes to say that, now he's down to development work at the grassroots level, serving people from the bottom up.
Nice.
And so that's kind of the quick overview background of how we ended up on the farm. My uncle started it in 1998 as a strawberry farm. From there, it moved into where we grow a huge variety of vegetables, herbs, berries. And then my dad and our family joined him in 2006.
Wow. And where in the world are you?
We are south of Nashville in Tennessee, about an hour southwest of Nashville.
And the size of your farm?
We're a small farm. And so we do everything really high intensity and in a small space. Land area, we have about 200 acres, but we're only growing on maybe 3 to 4 acres max in vegetable production at a time. We'll have some other land that is being cultivated in a cover crop or something like that.
Oh, nice.
But yeah,
nice.
Yeah, small intensive production.
Got it. So I have to laugh a little bit. I have a small farm in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a third of an acre.
Yeah.
So for me, 3 acres, in fact, I get that question a lot from people. They say, how many acres do you have? And I just kind of laugh and say, I wish. So today we're going to talk about winter growing techniques. So what are we talking about here? What are they?
Okay, so from the very start, I want to make this as practical as possible for any of the listeners that are on today, for all of our listeners. And so first of all, let's just jump back to what is it about growing in the winter?
Uh-huh.
What vegetables can you grow in the winter? What doesn't grow in the winter?
Right.
Some people might not even realize that there are vegetables that do better in the heat and vegetables that do better in the cold. But it's kind of like climbing a mountain. You end up with different vegetation as you get higher and as it gets colder.
Exactly.
And all that kind of. So when it comes to the garden, first of all, there's a pretty easy little separation, and doesn't go across all boards, but pretty much your cold tolerant vegetables are your leafy greens and your roots, like your carrots and radishes and beets and turnips. And, so I'm sure you know all of this, Greg, but I just want to make sure our listeners are on the same page.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, then brassicas are probably thrown in there as well, yes?
Right. So your leafy greens, like your brassicas, lettuces, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, all of those are thrown in there. And so kind of the first thing that you want to do when you're thinking about growing in the winter is say, I want to do this easily. I want to do it simply. I want to do it on a budget. I don't want to break my pocketbook while I'm doing it. So the first thing to do is decide to grow the vegetables that do best growing in the cold. It only makes sense, right?
Exactly.
So once you've got that down, depending on where you live, someone that lives in Florida, of course, it's going to be a lot easier for them than
Right.
somebody that lives in Maine.
Yep.
But the good news is for everyone, for even those people that live in Maine, is there are simple techniques that you can use to grow veggies in the winter, even without a heat source, and keep them alive through the winter and be harvesting fresh vegetables. And I know there's going to be people up in colder climates that are, their minds are just going crazy right now because they're thinking, there's absolutely no way that I could do that.
Right.
But, we know people in Michigan that are doing it. We know Farmer Elliott Coleman, who we've learned a lot from.
Oh, yes.
Up in Maine that is
Yep.
doing it, without heat. He's growing vegetables. And so that's kind of direction that I wanted to go with when it comes to a technique, is how can you do this without breaking your pocketbook in a simple and really an easy way.
So what is that? So let's go there. Give us one technique. Let's start there.
I'll give you perhaps our favorite technique.
Perfect. That's a great place.
And that is by using what's called a row cover or a frost cloth. And for anybody that's not familiar with a row cover, it's basically like a dryer sheet material. Like, think of a dryer sheet.
Oh, yes.
It's a spun bonded fabric, but think of it like a big, huge blanket. And so you can cover a large area with it. And it basically is kind of like that. It's kind of like a blanket you can put over your veggies to protect them. And when it comes to protection in the winter, oftentimes our minds will immediately go to, my plants need heat,
right?
To grow. You don't want them to freeze and die.
You're right.
Well, the good news about growing the cold-tolerant veggies is that they can handle a freeze. And oftentimes it's more important to protect them from the environment, from wind.
Oh, yes.
And
exactly.
all that environmental activity going around them, than to try and get them warm. Think of it kind of like when you walk outside and there's a wind chill factor. It might be 32 degrees, but there's a wind chill of like 25 and it feels way colder and you do a lot worse. It's kind of the same thing with our plants. They'll get wind burn. It's actually pretty incredible. If you can create an area where the air is still around them, they can handle way lower temperatures.
Yeah,
exactly. We've had lettuce that has survived like -5 degree temperatures without any heat outside, just under a couple covers. And so, when it got that cold, we were praying over them too. So
right, exactly.
We attribute that to the protection and as well as our prayers. But so when it comes down to, the very first thing is there's this frost cloth that you can put over them, and that can create that protected environment.
Right.
And
so you mentioned row covers and frost cloth, basically the same material.
Yeah, thanks for making that clarification.
Yeah.
Basically the same material. And if someone is going out to buy one, I would just give a little tip. We found that a 1 ounce, they come in different thicknesses. We found that a 1 ounce thickness gives the best
coverage.
Yeah, the best coverage, but it gives the best balance between protection as well as allowing light through, because if you get too thick, then it doesn't allow as much light to go through it, and your plants still need the light.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to ask you, that whether the light actually came through it.
Yeah, so light can go through it. It's also breathable, so that air can pass through it as well. But it still protects from wind, even though it's breathable.
Perfect. And row covers, that kind of material is fairly easy to find, yes?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you can look it up online. Google row cover. Johnny's Selected Seeds has it available. There's quite a few different sources for it. You could probably find it somewhere locally.
Perfect. So how about another technique? You got another one out there for us?
Well, let me just build off of the row cover first, just
Perfect.
a minute, because people could, of course, you can just go put the row cover over your veggies, but ideally that protection should be up off of your plants a little bit, and so you'll want to put some type of wire hoop over your veggies to kind of hold the row cover up off of them.
Yep.
And create a little air pocket that can actually act as a bit of an insulator. Or one of our favorite techniques is to use what's called a quick hoop, and you can make these yourself just out of 10-foot long PVC conduit pipes. You want to make sure that you get the gray kind. The white kind will break down in the sun.
Oh, yes.
But the gray kind doesn't. And so you can bend those hoops over and actually put little short pieces of rebar into the ground. Actually, if you get like an 18-inch piece of rebar and pound it in 10 inches into the ground on either side, and
nice.
Push that PVC pipe down over top of those rebar stakes. It creates a nice little hoop. It's like a miniature little hoop house that you can then put a row cover over.
Nice.
And a key is that you'll want to sandbag around the edge of it, because they're very prone to having the wind pick the row cover up.
Yeah, exactly.
Take it away.
So, and actually, you're talking about the gray pipe, right?
The gray pipe.
Yeah, so that's actually conduit. PVC is the white stuff. What you're talking about is conduit. And the cool thing about conduit is it's more flexible.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the conduit.
Perfect.
You can do it with metal conduit too. You just have to get a bender to bend it.
Right.
And so that can be a little bit more expensive.
Although I was looking at conduit benders the other day, and they're only $30 or $40. And if you're going to do a lot of these, that might be a good idea, because I would have a sense that metal conduit might hold up better.
It does, yeah. In fact, we use both, and we prefer the metal conduit. So go for it with the bender.
Perfect.
And that bender can be purchased from, I don't know where you were sourcing it from. I know that Johnny Seed sells one.
The local. I try and do as local as much as possible. So I just checked the local hardware store, and I saw one there the other day for $30 or $40. So.
Oh, really? No, that's great. I love it.
Yeah. So, all right. So we have row covers. We have, you call them quick hoop houses?
Yes. Little quick hoop houses.
All right. And how about if you wanted to, you're a little bit more intense and you got a little bit more cold? You got any ideas for how to protect from those kinds of temperatures?
Yeah. So if you are getting colder, then you probably need a couple layers of protection. So that one single row cover, where we are here in Tennessee, we're in a zone 7. And it gets down to about 0 degrees, maybe once in the winter. And one layer of row cover can protect some of our most hardy crops, like cabbage is really hardy, Brussels sprouts is really hardy. That can work. Now, if you want to protect a little bit more, then you can either just double cover it, and you'll only want to double cover it on cold nights. You'll want to take one of those covers off during the day to allow the sun to get down in and warm that air back up.
Perfect.
But you can double cover it at night, and that just adds another extra layer of protection. Or if you have the blessing of having a hoop house that has a plastic, or a greenhouse, either one. A greenhouse would just be a heated one. But if you're still going unheated, and if you have a hoop house, then you can put that quick hoop inside the hoop house, and basically you end up with 2 layers of protection: the plastic on top, the row cover down below. And again, you could add a second row cover on it on super cold nights, and that then you've got 3 layers of protection. You'd still want to pull it off during the day so the sun can get down in and warm it up.
I'll tell you that's brilliant. That is brilliant. I never thought about that. That is a great idea.
Yeah, and it works. It's so effective. It really works really well.
One thing I've done here, so it doesn't freeze a whole lot here in the desert where we're at, but one of the things I've done is I've actually taken the 7-day candles. And those are the glass ones that are like 10 inches tall, and just light them and stick 1 or 2 of them underneath the hoop house, and it throws off enough heat that it'll just it just keeps it warm enough so that it doesn't go to freezing.
Hey, no way! I'd never thought of that.
Try that. Give that one a shot. So I have a question for you. What do you consider the best thing about growing your own food?
Obviously, there's the benefit of partaking of the food that you grow. It's going to be way healthier, have way more nutrition than something that you buy at the store. I mean, those are kind of some obvious things. But at the same time, for me, it's almost more exciting than that. What I get more excited about is the interaction with other people. Seeing the excitement of other people when you can share that food with them. Or, as in my case, teaching other people, seeing that excitement and how it can change their lives when I'm teaching them how to grow their own food.
Right.
So those are just some of the things that excite me about it that I love.
The community part is for me, that's priceless. That's priceless. So this whole notion of growing your own food and building your own urban farm, there's successes and there's failures, and we all have failures in doing this. So what do you consider one of your biggest failures, and what did you learn from that?
Would it be okay if I brought in a story from my family? It actually isn't one that I was directly involved with, but it was a pivotal moment in our farming experience.
Absolutely, because it's where we learn from. And this is the beautiful part. You can learn from other people's failures as well, and this is your family, so go.
So what happened is my uncle started the farm as a strawberry farm. We were actually, as far as we know, nobody's challenged us on it. We were the first organic strawberry farm in the Middle Tennessee area.
Wow.
And so... it was exciting. This was new. It was great. He got into the media. Well, I should go back. He planted the biggest strawberry patch he'd ever planted. I think this was in 2003, but I can't be quoted on that. Don't remember the exact year. But he planted the biggest strawberry. I think it was like 1.5 acres.
Wow.
And that's a lot of strawberries.
That's a lot of strawberries.
It is. And so he had just naturally ended up getting a connection with local newspaper in Nashville, got a front page article on the strawberry farm, and the beginning of the season, it just started out like blockbusters. I mean, my grandfather was out there directing traffic. There was cars lined up down the road. People were just so excited about the strawberries. And
nice.
Then, it was amazing. And then about 2 or 3 days into it, it started raining. And if you know anything about strawberries, rain it's not good on a strawberry patch. I mean, of course they need water, but they get waterlogged. And then what happened is it rained literally for like the next month, basically, which our strawberry season only a month. I mean,
right, exactly.
That's all that we have with strawberries. So it rained basically nonstop. It flooded the main 2 ways to get to the farm ended up being flooded. So if people were trying to come, they wouldn't have been able to anyways. Not like anybody was trying to come out when it's raining. And so what ended up happening, long story short, is that it was just an epic failure. They kept on roping off the field because strawberries were rotting in the field, and they couldn't harvest them. And really, the whole crop failed, and it was probably the lowest experience in his experience farming.
Wow! And what's your takeaway from that? What's the learn from that?
So what happened is he went back to the drawing board, and he said, we're growing strawberries, but what do I have now? What can I do now? Because I'm put in a position where I still have to support my family, but our strawberry crop just failed. And so what can I do? And he really prayed about it, and he felt guided. He felt like God directed him to diversify and to say, I can grow food. Why don't I tell people, listen, I'll grow your food for this next winter if you pay me up front. And so he sent out a note to all of his contacts, and that is basically the pivotal point in our farm where we diversified from just growing one single crop to growing a large variety of vegetables, where now if one fails, you still have 20 other ones to back up on. And a key little note there is that when it comes to growing, failures happen. Nobody can promise you that you're not going to fail.
Right.
I failed, you failed. Like the story with my uncle, he failed with the strawberry crop. But it's that gumption to say, it doesn't mean that I have a black thumb.
Right.
It just means that we live and learn. You take that, you jump up and start again. Try with something new. Try with something different. We still grow strawberries. It's still one of our best crops.
So my takeaway here. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Don't put all your strawberries in one basket.
That's right. That's right.
There you go. All right. Cool. So let's go to the other side of that now, and let's talk about a win. Do you have a nice win out there that you'd like to share with people?
You know what? This is going to be extremely simple.
Perfect.
But it's something that has just stuck in my mind ever since I saw it. When I started teaching people how to grow their own food, I think I mentioned this already, one of the biggest things for me is how it impacts their lives. And this interaction, it didn't come from one of my customers. It was just somebody that was on my contact list. I was putting out some free training videos. Actually, I put out a little thing on Facebook, guys, where I said, everybody, go ahead and ask me questions, and then I'll put out some free videos just answering people's questions.
Oh, nice. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great little experience, and I want to do it again. I want to get back into doing that. But so what happened is after I put out a few of these videos, I got on Facebook one day, and this lady came in, and she had commented on one of my posts, and she had said, you answered one of my questions in one of your videos, and my daughter and I watched it, and we are inspired, and it's just changed our lives. My daughter is excited now, and we're going to get out into the garden, and we're going to grow something. And it might sound like a simple little thing,
right.
but that interaction just makes all the difference to me.
It does.
It doesn't have to be someone, that's paying for me to teach them. Just someone that can gain a blessing from even simple information that I can share online is just such a blessing. Making a difference in someone's life like that. For me, that is such a huge win.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Big time. Big time. So that goes to my next question. And what drives you?
That's part of the foundation of my big why is making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
The other thing is, obviously, I really think that there's no better place for people to get their own food than to grow it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's fulfilling, it's healing to be in the garden, and there's no better place to, I come from a Christian perspective, and there's no better place to learn about God and the nature that he has created and the relationship that he wants to have with us than out in nature and in the garden.
In the garden.
So,
love that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what are you most excited about? What projects are you working on right now that you can share with our listeners? What are you up to?
Yeah, I am super excited. I've just launched a brand new membership program. I had an online gardening course that I was selling for a while, and then I wanted more of a community feel and more interaction and to create a membership. And so I've just launched a new membership where it actually includes my whole training library.
Oh, nice.
Put the whole training library in there. People can just get instant access to, over 75 training videos and demonstrations and all of that. But what really excites me about the membership is that I've started having online live monthly meetings where community members can jump in on a webinar, basically, but it's a live meeting where we can share with them and really answer people's questions and get into their gardens and help them, on their level with their gardens. And it's kind of nice. The software that I'm using, they can actually jump in live too, kind of like a call-in, like on a radio station type of thing. So that's kind of exciting.
Fantastic. And what's the URL? How can people find out about that?
Yeah, so you can go to www.borntogrow.net. Borntogrow.net. That's my main blog, and on the front page there's a link over to the membership. It's pretty obvious.
Perfect.
So yeah, anybody that's interested, jump on over there, and even if you're not ready to jump into the membership yet, there's you can jump on my email list and get free garden training and updates from the blog and all of that too. So
nice. So that's borntogrow.net.
Borntogrow.net.
Perfect. So I'm all about education. It sounds like you are too. And I have to know, I'm an avid reader. Is there one book out there that's impacted your life that you like telling everybody about? Could be about gardening, maybe not about gardening, but one book that you're particularly inspired by.
Yeah. Do you mind if I give you two? I know that.
Please bring it on.
I'll just say for the gardening side of things, we have learned so much through Elliot Coleman's books. That would be like the New Organic Grower.
Yep.
And the
Great
Full
book.
Season Harvest.
Yeah.
Those are a couple great books. Otherwise, the Bible has been a huge inspiration to me. It's filled with wisdom and knowledge, and has impacted my life. But one other book that has really had a significant impact on my life as well is a book called The Great Controversy. Yeah, look it up. Especially for people that are interested in history and going back and looking over the world and looking into the future and stuff like that. A fascinating book that has had a huge impact on my life.
Perfect. So one more question. Any final piece of advice or anything that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I would like to encourage anyone that is on here. Number one, that like we were talking about earlier, growing your own food isn't that hard. Yes, you're going to face obstacles. Yes, you're going to have a plant die on you. But it doesn't mean that you have a black thumb. You can get right back up and plant something else, and you can have a success, and it's not that hard. Nature wants to grow. It's the plants, they want to thrive. They're not so fragile that everything's going to die on you.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I would really encourage people to start small. Don't bite off too much than you can handle. It's something that we've had personal experience with. We've done it. And the stress just isn't worth it. You want to enjoy what you're doing, and to start off small in a amount that you can take care of and do successfully and well, and in a way that it can really be fulfilling to you, and then grow over time.
Oh, perfect.
So that would be
great.
Like
great.
Couple tips, I guess that you could say.
Perfect. So, where can our listeners find you? What's the best way to get a hold of you? So, website and email.
Yeah, best way to get a hold of me, website is borntogrow.net, and email is paul@borntogrow.net. So
Perfect.
Super simple. My name, paul@borntogrow.net.
Perfect. Paul, thank you so much for joining us on the Urban Farm Podcast today and sharing your experience. And a big thank you to everyone out there who tuned in for the Urban Farm Podcast. Have a great day. Interested in learning more and taking control of your food future? Text Urban Farm to 33444 to sign up for our weekly urban farming newsletter. Jam-packed with urban farming tips, stories from people just like you learning to urban farm, and free classes, the Urban Farm Lifestyle Newsletter will equip you to join the urban farming revolution. Text Urban Farm to 33444.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Urban Farm Podcast. Remember to listen 3 days a week for tips, advice, and resources to help you on your journey with urban farming. You can find us on the web at urbanfarm.org or send us an email to podcast@urbanfarm.org. In the words of Vincent van Gogh, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Be encouraged that with each lesson learned and skill developed, you are one step closer in the direction of your dreams.